How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Creepshow the comic book, issue number 4. Yeah, this is issue number 4 of the 5 issues of the series, so it's the second to last issue for now. I really do hope that after issue 5 this book does come back. It's just been so great to actually get Creepshow as a real-life comic book. You know, anthology stories, 2 per issue, really great and really creative. And I have to say, issue 4, probably my favorite since issue 1. We get the first story, which is going to be entitled Come Out, Wherever You Are, about a group of kids that are going to try to hunt down some vampires, and it really is a Stephen King-esque group of kids, and it really is like the Losers Club crossed into Salem's Lot. Cool stuff, and I really do like seeing a bit of that Stephen King-esque atmosphere. You know, I think Tales from the Dark Side did it a few times, and the Creepshow TV show did it a few times, where even if it's not Stephen King writing, it was a project he was involved in starting, and might as well throw a few homages his way. And I won't spoil how it ends, but Come Out, Wherever You Are does have a very interesting last half to it that I thought was really something I hadn't seen done too terribly much to shift the story halfway through and become about this other thing. But I really did like, you know, the implication and weight of the first half and how it affected the second one. The other story, Mascara De La Muerte, or The Mask of Death, is a masked wrestler horror story. And this is another thing about anthology horror, especially in comics, I really do like, is just how wide a range of stories you can have. A masked wrestler story is something very interesting, very different, but also a cursed object story. You don't want to put on this wrestler mask. It's cursed. And overall, you know, sports horror is kind of not the biggest thing ever, but it's always kind of fun when it pops up. And this story really did give me those anthology horror vibes about how anthology horror is super free to explore and go in a million new ways, and that's something I always really like. So both these stories in here were pretty good, and in turn, yeah, probably my favorite since issue 1. We only have one more of these to go, guaranteed, and I am sitting here crossing my fingers, really just hoping that we do get a second wave, because I really do like this. So here's hoping. Anyway, if you want to see more, let's go ahead and switch to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle, taking a closer look at Creepshow issue 4. So yeah, the initial run of this series is 5 issues. Here's hoping that we do get more, because I really do love this book. Anyway, Greg Nicotero, Image and Skybound, the credits across the top in the classic red banner reminiscent of Tales from the Crypt. And here we have a fun cover. There's an axe and a pile of decomposing heads, and amongst the heads, the classic Creepshow ghoul. Always gotta love all these covers, and there is a sneak peek in the back. Careful not to show you anything, but there's the final cover of the initial run, and it looks like the Creepshow ghoul is going to be there with a little girl, and they're going to be looking at comics. They're covers that we've seen before in this series, and he's actually looking at the cover for the issue he's on, creating kind of a infinity loop, and then a B cover there where she's got the head on. Next time, Thirst Trap and Husk. Was that the name of the one with the scarecrow? Was that Husk? I don't know. But anyway, back of the book, They are still giving it a whole back page there instead of an ad. There's the barcode 00411, thrashing teeth and death await. Now, if we open the book, we can see the full credits page. Come out wherever you are. Written by Kyle Starks with art by Fran Galan. And Mascara De La Muerte was written by Henry Barajas with art by Dani, which I know I've seen that artist before. Can't quite place it right now at the top of my head. But we do get the preview images, and we do get the Creepshow ghoul right above the credits there. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and show you guys a little bit of the stories. Now, I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers. I do want to show you guys a bit of the story and the art, but I'll be avoiding the twist endings and stuff. But anyway, come out wherever you are. The first story, and like I said, really reminiscent of Stephen King. We get a group of young kids. This girl will be your point of view character, and there's all her friends, and they're finding a dead body. Yeah, I did say they reminded me of the Losers Club, but maybe a more accurate thing would be to say the kids from the body, which would later get adapted into Stand By Me, because they literally find a dead body, and it's all gross and dry. Well, they start to theorize about what happened, and later on, the girl actually witnesses someone get abducted, and they think it's vampires. There's an old haunted house, which really does look like the house from the new version of It, and they say the vampires are hanging out in the woods behind that house, and why they saw the abduction and why they found the body is they're like one of the few people that pays attention to that neck of the woods. Now, of course, the adults aren't going to believe them, so the kids have to do things like take some old chairs, sharpen them into stakes. The main girl steals some holy water, and they put little crosses on the bullets of a gun, and they're ready to go out vampire hunting. Yeah, very much Stephen King so far, but she, of course, hints that things are about to go very, very wrong for this group, and it's going to get pretty interesting towards the end. And overall, I really did love the Stephen King-esque opening, but I also really did love the ramifications that it had in the second half of the story, and really a lot goes on in that first story, yet it never felt rushed. You know, it really feels like that first half of the story felt like I was reading a full 22-page comic, even though it was just a half length. I really do like, you know, Creepshow, started by Stephen King. Why not take that Stephen King feel, but also do something new with it where I can say, yeah, it reminds me of Salem's Lot, it reminds me of The Body, it reminds me of It, but at the same time going in a direction towards the end that is new and pretty different. You know, it's reinvention with the old concepts. Overall, that was one of my favorite stories. And then this one's a pretty fun story as well. We get the Creepshow ghoul there, and I really do like this kind of crumbly looking art style. Very, very good for a horror story. Mascara De La Muerte. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. But we get our main girl wrestler here, and she's getting unmasked, so she can't use her persona anymore. And she goes, I was a rising star. I have potential. So she has a plan. And it talks about how she climbs up this ivy into a window, which odd that it says that in the text, but then the art is before. You would think you have a panel of her, like, grabbing onto the ivy, but whatever. It's a rather a big exposition shot of the building. But she gets in, and there's a mask in the special display case, and of course, her grandma finds her. You see, this wrestling mask was her father's mask, and she goes, I can't use my old persona anymore. I want to come back as Dad's persona. But the grandmother says, you can't do that. you don't know the whole truth. And apparently, she thought her father was killed by the cartel, but they say that there was actually a horrible incident after he won, and that no one should ever wear the mask again. She struggles with the grandmother, and she eventually, I guess she pulls hard enough that the grandma accidentally whacks herself in the face, and she steals the mask and goes out as this new persona, and there's going to be a big fight. And, you know, the warning going into this, that your father went crazy because of the mask, well, how far and how crazy and how violent is this fight going to get? Overall, yeah, it's a pretty classic anthology horror-styled story. Cursed object, don't touch it, no, I know what I'm doing. But the sports setting, and setting it in Mexico as well, is a good way to change it up with a different and unique setting, and I really do like this element of long-running anthology horror. The more stories you have and the longer the book goes, the more you feel free to experiment and expand yourself, and I really do like that's a good part about having the Creepshow TV show and having the Creepshow comic, is basically saying, let's put all of our cool ideas out and let's tell a sports story. That's fun as well. So the first half of this, classic Stephen King Creepshow stuff, and the second half of this, classic anthology horror stuff. I also read the magazine, there's two of them, Shudder and Vampirist Carmilla, which are good. It's another good source of modern anthology horror comics, and that second one really did remind me of something that I would see in the magazine Shudder. Really cool. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Creepshow playlist. I've talked about a ton of the show, and I've also talked about the first 3 issues. So if you want to see my review of those, feel free to check them out there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very soon. Creepshow playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.